Here's a question for you. How much do you tell your parents about your sex life? American rugby star Ilona Maher revealed on her podcast that she called her mom when she lost her virginity. Is that TMI?
TMI. Listen, every family's gonna do this differently. First of all, I don't even like the term lost her virginity, so let's scrap that. No one's losing anything to a man or a woman. Let's start there. I say that because my household is very body positive, sex positive since my daughter was born. As early as we could, we were reading all the books. Corey Silverberg is a great author. Parents highly recommend it, especially if you've never been down this road before. So what I love about this story is even though this is not great for a lot of families because it's like, I don't want to know that. This tells me she had great parenting, or at least it tells me she's got a great relationship with her mother. The line for every family is going to be different, but I hope that my daughter is taking all the lessons that we're teaching her and is able to feel comfortable and safe enough for her to call and say it's happened. Now, if she wants to, it's her choice. I would love that. So to me, I just think it goes back to not, how old was Alona when she lost?
In her 20s.
She had her 20s. Her sister called it her sexual debut, which by the way, love that term. Sexual debut. It's like, do it, girl. But because it tells me that when she started talking to her mom, maybe when she was, I don't know, for me it was 18 months. That was my first book that I read to my daughter.
About sex?
About bodies.
Okay.
About bodies, naming body parts. My daughter is going to learn everything she needs to know about sex ed from me, not the internet, not her friends, and I want that line of communication to be open and stay open so that if she chooses to tell me her sexual debut, I will be there open ears. So congratulations to this mom.
Well,
yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, so I was very lucky because I realized this afterwards that most of my friends didn't get the sex talk from their parents. My mother sat me down at 9 and explained everything. I thought I was on punishment. I was like, why are we talking about fallopian tubes? What is this woman doing? In hindsight, I'm very glad that she did that because I had my eyes and ears open, and when there were conversations, when the conversations did pop up and my friends were like, oh, women give birth through their butts, I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh
that was
my
me.
God.
Let me break it down for you. So I'm grateful that I always could talk to her about when I needed a training bra, when I had my first period. I like that. But as for our sex life, I'm gonna quote my mother. I'm not one of your little friends. My mother and I do not need to sit down and me to explain to her like, girl, last night oh girl, you don't even wanna know. It was like, we're not having that discussion. And conversely, I don't wanna hear about her sex life. I don't want, because usually in those conversations, it's give and take. I tell you about what happened to me last night and you go, girl, I had a man like that too. I don't want to hear those words coming out of my mother's mouth. Whatever works for people, but I think there's that line where it's like, this is where you need to talk to your girlfriend so you can let your hair down and really be like, you know, I like it like this. I don't know if my mom needs to know every single sexual kink that I have, and vice versa. But if it works for you and you guys are cool with it, fine, but I just can't. That's sleepless nights for months if I heard those stories.
It's not for me either.
And you have sons, so do you want your sons coming to you when they're ready to have sex and be like, Mom, so I did it last night?
No, the thing is, I don't want to know details. I don't want to know details. I think there's a boundary. I don't want to be my son's best friend. I want to be his mother. What I appreciate about what you said, Mel, is fostering open and honest communication early. And I love that. And I do think we should be having conversations with our kids about sex, of course. I just think you can be a sex-positive parent and maybe not share all the sordid details.
Agree. I don't think you need to at all.
I don't think she is sharing details.
Well, I just need to know when the virginity loss happens.
Well, I mean, she doesn't
Or
even
the
have
debut.
She had a sexual debut. She doesn't have a sex life yet.
I even think that we need to talk about this sexual debut. It is better than the idea of saying that there's a virginity loss, because as you pointed out, it's no loss. But even the debut is a bit fraught because I think there's not just one kind of sex. There are many firsts when it comes to sex. And so limiting it to one is very, very limiting.
Yeah.
And I mean, I agree. I think the ideal is to have those open lines of communication, but I also think it's okay for parents to be like, I don't need to know. I can set up the education early on. I can leave out or suggest where you can get birth control, what that safety can look like, what reminding them about consent, and then also just like kind of walking away. And I also think we should encourage, and I say this, and I run a podcast called Unmentionables. I do think there's a power in talking about things that we've considered taboo, but I also think there needs to be a space for people who don't want to talk at all. Like, I remember when I was doing my first sexual explorations, I didn't talk to almost anybody about it because it felt very, very personal, and I didn't want to be actually influenced by anybody about my decision. And it also felt very private and intimate. Now I'm like, well, I'll talk about anything, but I think there was a time...
On a national talk show.
There was a time, I just think there's space for all of this in the world. There's space for all these options.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, because if you say something that your mother has not done, say your mom didn't have as much sexual experience as you did, and now you're telling your mom, well, I like it like this, your mom's like, oh, there's gonna be that judgment, and then that's a weird space that you're gonna be in.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Just keep the lines of communications
Keep them open.
as much as you want.
Hey, you, come a bit closer. We've got so many more must-see interviews, spicy debates, lifestyle tips, and pop culture moments. So subscribe to our channel by tapping the logo below and don't miss out.